The interim superintendent here in the Casa Grande Union High School District. I said it without saying elementary, so my mind is almost shifted. I do want to recognize our school board president, Chuck Wright, is here, and school board member, Steve Hunt, is here, and thank them for both coming out today. So I just want to go over a little bit. Yeah, please. I didn't get a chance to send you an email yet today that told you that these two gentlemen last night voted for certified staff to get a $1,600 raise next year, support staff 75 cents an hour raise. Across the board, all certified staff, all support staff. So, and it was a real honor for me to make that recommendation on behalf of all the hard work that you do here, and so thank you. Where are we at in the format tonight? So we had 11 applicants for principal, 10 applicants submitted early. One application came in the day that we were screening. I did screen through that applicant. That individual didn't have principal experience in that. And so we narrowed it down to 4 candidates. And then last Friday, Mr. Danzy and I interviewed 4 candidates. 2 of the candidates are not here tonight. We're looking at experience, looking at what is entailed in being the principal of Casa Grande High School. I couldn't make the recommendation for either one of them to be the principal of the school. And so I'm not going to put somebody in front of you that I couldn't recommend, because I want you guys to understand your input is very valuable to me as we move forward. But tonight I have one candidate that I'm presenting to you for principal, which is Dr. Chris Lineberry, who is behind me. And then one candidate I'm presenting to you tonight for assistant principal, who will speak after that, and that's Donna Tejas. Donna is a lifelong Cougar and has a lot of institutional knowledge. She loves this place, but she's lacking the principal experience. Dr. Lineberry, he's going to share with you his resume and why I'm comfortable at this point presenting him as the candidate that I think would move forward. But I want to hear from all of your input in there. So that's really the final aspect of it. I put questions on your sheet so you know the 18 questions that Mr. Danzy and I asked all 4 of the candidates when we met with them on Friday. And so they were comfortable, I was comfortable with their answers to the 18 questions, and was very comfortable with Dr. Lineberry's answers to his questions based on the experience that he had in that. He can share, I don't want to steal his message tonight, but in sharing the success that he has had as a principal. Some of these questions they may have answered in a different question, and in the interest of time, we may not have asked 1 or 2 of those questions, but they answered all of those questions. So what I have told Dr. Lineberry is he has 25 minutes. 10 minutes, who are you? 15 minutes, what do you see as action steps in moving Casa Grande Union forward? And then the opportunity for you to ask questions, and then for him to make a closing statement. So we're looking at about 45 minutes. So I don't want to take any more time. Dr. Lineberry, the audience is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Lavender. Good evening, and thank you for being here and giving me the opportunity to speak with you tonight. Thank you, Superintendent Lavender, and Donna, thank you for your help with the technology. Hopefully I can make it work. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come and be here this evening. So my name is Chris Lineberry, and that is my family. Somebody said, how many children do you have? And my answer was a lot. Between my wife and I, we have 6. And the 2 littlest ones up there are mine. My oldest son lives in North Carolina, and then I have 3 stepdaughters, or 2 stepdaughters, a stepson, and a cousin who was in that picture who we kind of adopted. So family is very important to me. I was raised in North Carolina. I'm trying to make this work here. Donna, you gave me a tutorial and I think I'm failing.
Do you want some assistance?
Yes, ma'am, I think that'd be good.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go, look at that. So that's me as a kid. Don't tell any of my siblings that I showed you that picture because they would be very upset. And that's my mom. I was raised, as I said, in Raleigh, North Carolina. I grew up loving North Carolina State and Jim Valvano, as well as anybody who was playing Duke. That's just the way we were raised. So both my parents are very, very hardworking people. My siblings have all gone on to be extremely successful. And I feel like that really helped me to build a foundation of who I was, which is hardworking, honest, integrity, all were instilled in me at a young age, and the value of education. So I went to the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, the 49ers, where I majored in English with a minor in secondary education. I think they do it differently now, but back then that's how it was done. Then I got my master's in school administration from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, and I also got my doctorate from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. I was a NCAA Division I athlete, believe it or not. Back when I was there, I swam for UNC Charlotte. I've been in the profession for 26 years, 18 of those years have been as a principal, and 8 as a teacher. I started out as an English teacher from 94 to 98, and then 2000 to 2003. At one point, I thought maybe I didn't want to be an educator. And that's that gap in 98 to 2000. And what I found was, even though I was saying I didn't want to be an educator, I was still coaching, I was still volunteering, I was still tutoring, and I was still substituting. So I feel like being an educator is really who I am. And I think you have to be true to yourself. I was an assistant principal from 2002 to 2004 in a middle school in rural North Carolina in Union County, and then became a principal in 2005 in North Carolina. In 2007 I moved here and was at Harmon Elementary School as an elementary principal for 3 years. I left Harmon Elementary to start a virtual school, the Florence Virtual Academy, which was when the state opened up AOI education, and stayed there for 3 years. And when Dr. Nine left Florence, I decided I really wanted to get back into a brick and mortar classroom. So from 2013 to 2019, I was the principal at Stanfield Elementary School, which is just down the road. And in 2019, became the principal of Apache Junction High School and have been the principal there since. So what's important to me? That's at the top of Pinell Peak. That's my big head sitting there. But honesty, integrity, perseverance, kindness, humility, respect, and faith are all core tenets of who I am. I think that the only way to build a relationship with anybody, the only relationships I've ever had that have been meaningful have been based on a foundation of trust. Trust is essential. And I think you build trust by saying what you're going to do and then following through and doing what you're going to say, or what you said you would do. So that's my true north. In 2001, I was teaching 9th grade English, and only 3 of my students out of the 180 that I had did not pass the end of course test in North Carolina. And at that point, and I still look back on that, I was pretty happy about that. I was also named the Conference Swim Coach of the Year for our conference. Then in 2016, the Arizona Health and PE Teachers Association named me the Administrator of the Year. Also in 2017, we won a $100,000 fitness center from the National Foundation of Governors Fitness Councils at Stanfield Elementary School. We were one of three schools in the country to win that award. In 2019, I got the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Arizona health and PE educators. And then in 2019, I was also named, my school was named the American School Health Association WISC model, which is the whole school, whole child, whole community school of the year. We're also featured in a documentary that the Centers for Disease Control, along with the Association of Chronic Disease Directors, put out on setting up a healthy school. 2017, I was able to facilitate through some of the awards we had won through the USDA, the first meeting between the USDA and the Tohono Indian Nation. I'm very proud of that because we were able to help a lot of people. And then in 2022, when I got to Apache Junction in 2019, the school was a C by 0.3. The year prior to that, they had been a D. And then you all know what happened between 2019 and now, COVID and everything else. During that time, we were able to take the school from a borderline D up to a solid B. So I'm extremely proud of that and the work that we were able to, the work that we did together to make that happen. My management style is encourage and invite. You know, I really think there are two approaches to how people lead. One is kind of command and control, and the other is to encourage and invite. I'm an encourage and invite person. I believe that we have to have collaboration, work together as a team, extend grace and charity to one another. I like to say that you've got to say what you mean what you say, but don't be mean when you say it. I think it's really important that we work together. This is, you know, our place, and we, as a team, will be able to achieve great things if we work together as a team. We. Also, by working in collaboration with administrators, other administrators, not only at my school, but at other schools, by working side by side, shoulder to shoulder with my teachers, involving kids and our student council. When I started at Apache Junction, we had 14 kids in our student council. This year we have 80 who would like to be involved. So we've been able to build that and also give students a voice in what they want to see on their campus, because they have as much stake in this place as anybody does. And again, working with parents and community is extremely important. That night was great. The kids picked one person to wear their jersey, and I don't know if JC really wanted to pick me or if the coach just said, we got to have a lineman because nobody else's jersey will fit you, lineman. So I got to walk out onto the field with the kids, which was a great night. I think I was asked a question earlier today about what I think I can bring to the table. I think that relationships are important, and I think that I have a skill set of helping to be able to change culture and build relationships and rapport with kids, with families, and with teachers. I think that I have a skill set of being able to motivate and inspire students, staff, community. We have to be sure that we understand that education is much bigger than one thing. It's important that we address our students as human beings. They're not numbers. They're people. And I firmly believe that we don't just teach content. We teach kids. And I think that's extremely important. You know, we were the prospectors at Apache Junction High School, and as I was driving in one day, I could see the superstitions kind of off in the background. And I was thinking about what our mission statement ought to be. And I don't know how it happened, but mining human potential came to me. And it stuck. And in every interaction that I have on my campus, with students, with teachers, with office personnel, with parents, I want to mine human potential. I want people to become the best version of themselves. And I believe that when students know that we care, and students and parents know that we have their best interest at heart, that they're willing to work harder in order to achieve their goals as well. So I think that kids don't care what you know until they know that you care. So my references, Chris Knudsen, who's the superintendent in Florence Unified. Chris was a colleague of mine when I worked in Florence. He's since elevated to become a superintendent. Chris taught me a lot about building climate and culture on a school campus. Dr. Melissa Saydorf was my superintendent when I was at Stanfield Elementary School District. She taught me a lot about building a sense of community. I was able to work with her and work with the Tohono Nation, as well as we had a large population of Hispanic students, many of whom were migrant, and we were able to build relationships with those families as well. Dr. Gary Nine, who was the superintendent in Florence, taught me a lot about communication. Communication is hard. You ever play the telephone game? You know, where one person says one thing and by the time it gets to the end, it's completely changed. I think communication is extremely important. Being direct and honest with people was also another strength of Gary Nine's. And Mark Morrow, he and I worked together as colleagues in the Combs district, and when I went to Apache Junction, he had been a principal for 27 years and he had a couple of years left that he wanted to get retirement. He called me and said, "Man, I'd love to work for you." And I said, "Are you serious?" And he said yes, and he came and he worked as a guidance counselor for me for 1 year and did a phenomenal job. He's been a tremendous mentor and friend as I've grown as a high school principal and as an administrator. One thing that I told my wife when we got married, I said, "Honey, if you expect perfection, prepare for disappointment." I have a lot to learn. I'm constantly learning. I have a desire to always learn and grow. And Mark has really helped spark that interest in me as well. I took that picture in Sedona. We did the airport hike. I don't know if any of you have ever done that, but it's a beautiful hike if you've never done so. So why is Casa Grande Union High School a destination for me? Because I believe that it's who I am. My shoes fit. If you've ever worn uncomfortable shoes, it just feels like nothing during the day goes right when your shoes don't fit. And I feel like my shoes fit. They fit when I was at Stanfield. They certainly fit at Apache Junction, and they absolutely will fit in this community. I feel like I understand the population, the values, and the character, as well as the potential that gives in a community such as this. And there is tremendous, tremendous potential for growth and greatness. My personal vision and mission statement would be that every student graduate from here with one of 5 career paths, either college, straight to the workforce, military, vocational school, or university, or trade school. That every graduate will have developed self-discipline and self-respect. Number one indicator of success in life is self-discipline. If you've never watched the marshmallow test, Google it. It's really fascinating to watch how in young children they could extrapolate to success later in life. To develop highly effective and unified teams in a climate and culture where teachers have the right to teach and students have the right to learn. I firmly believe that as educators, you have the right to teach. And I believe that as students, they have the right to learn. And our job as administrators is to give you the resources and the support that you need in order to make that happen. And mining human potential. That's my go-to. I think it's really important that we as educators, we have both the burden and the gift of being brokers of dreams. And every interaction that we have with kids can have an impact. I remember things that teachers said to me that were very positive. I also remember having some teachers in high school who weren't so positive. And it made a difference to me. And I always want to be cognizant of the fact and remind the folks around me of the fact, the power of our words and our position. because we can absolutely impact and shape lives. So I think with climate and culture, my work will begin with earning trust. Trust is not something that's just given. I ask for the opportunity to earn your trust. And I will do that by saying what I'm going to do and then doing what I said I would do. We build trust and improve climate through individual conversations with both staff and students, as well as families, with frequently celebrating student success and staff success. By focusing on clear, frequent, and honest communication, I send emails out every week. They're very, very detailed about what it is that's happening at the school, what it is that's coming up, what it is that I expect, anything that's important that people need to know. I think clear, honest, direct communication given frequently is extremely important. And that I also think it's important to be visible on the campus, at events, in the community. And then I also started a podcast during COVID where I interview students and staff. It was a way to try to build a sense of community while we were all separated, and it's kind of continued out since then. So those are some of the ways that I hope to be able to help build community, climate, and culture here. When it comes to change, I welcome change as long as nothing is altered or different than it was before. Change is hard, and I think people are innately resistant to change. So my solution to that is, one, that we acknowledge that it's not easy, but it is the only real constant in life. And that I will lead change through small and slow. I'll lead change through intentionality, meaning that there is a purpose for why we're doing it. Methodically, there is a process through why we do it. Collaboratively, it's not just a person sitting in an office giving directives. We have a stake, and we collectively will be able to find out the best way or path to move forward. All of those things need to be driven by data and data intentional, and be data intentional, meaning that we don't just make change for change's sake. And that if we're going to do something, or we have an idea, whatever the change is that we're looking to implement has to be good for kids. And not only does it have to be good for kids, but it also has to be actionable by people who are boots on the ground educators. We can have all the ideas in the world, but if we don't have the resources to get it done, then there's no point in going forward. We can have wonderful ideas, but if kids aren't at the center of those ideas, it doesn't matter. Is it good for kids is the litmus test for me when it comes to making change. Is it good for kids? Is it good for our staff? Is it good for our community? Behavior. Those are my two. That was in the park in Maricopa. I had to coach them to look mad because they're just happy kids. So they nailed it, I think. So with behavior, I think a process and a plan is extremely important. Clarity, expectations being made very clear, and people giving, students and staff having a strong understanding of what it is that is expected. So we use something we call the Student Behavior Modification Plan. It has different steps in it. This is what I've used. And it works very well. First step, you fill out the form, log it into, we use Synergy, you log it into Synergy that you've had the conversation. That's a check-in. Little Johnny looks off today, pull him aside, hey man, you can't be calling out while I'm talking. Some of the things you're saying, you can't say in class. What's going on, because this isn't like you. Step two is, look, I'm gonna have to call home now because we're at a point where your behavior's escalated to, I've already checked in with you, you know that I'm here for you if you need anything, but you're continuing to behave in a way that's inappropriate for school. So the parent is contacted at that point. Step three, they fill out the form, a teacher fills out the form, and then there's a parent conference. Step four, it goes to the administrator, and step five, there's a disciplinary consequence that comes along with that. This is great because it puts ownership on kids and on parents to help change behavior. It's not just us. All right, so in 2021, we had 488 suspensions. We have 1,000 students at this point in the year. This year, we're at 238. The plan works. Clear expectations, firm, fair, and consistent. I'm trying to go fast because I'm running low on time. Talking with students and staff to see what concerns are, and then evaluating the current climate. Set targets for growth, opportunities for growth, and then I have 10 academic responsibilities that I like to share with kids and staff, and these are things that are extremely important that every kid should know. This is your responsibility. You're responsible for acquiring knowledge, for coming prepared to class, for taking notes, for asking questions, for completing homework and classwork, for attending tutoring or asking for help, attending regularly, coming to school, taking assessment seriously, demonstrating an appropriate work ethic, and putting cell phones and earbuds off and away while in the classroom. A safe campus is priority one. If we don't have safety, then we're not going to be able to get anything else done. So I think the important part about safety is safety when it comes to kids in a school campus. Building relationships and rapport is extremely important. They talk, they tell us things, we're able to keep the campus safe. Partnering with local law enforcement, fire, and medic, being visible and close, and utilizing administration, security, counselors, and school social workers as appropriate. I'm trying, Jeff, to go fast. Improving instructional practice. I think we have to look at areas of strength or opportunity for growth. Provide support and resources to effective instructional planning. I like to use the Super 7+3, which is similar to the Madeline Hunter model, only it's got 3 additional components to it to make sure that we're covering bases as we plan. Developing school-wide achievement growth and achievement goals, developing individual growth goals for all of us as instructional staff, observations and walkthroughs, and then professional development and effective implementation of professional learning communities. Being visible, you will see me in classrooms, you'll see me providing feedback, and you'll see me interacting with kids. At events, you'll see the same thing. Me interacting with kids, providing feedback, and being available. On campus, I have to buy shoes frequently because I like to be out and about, and then in the community I think it's extremely important. My first year goals are to build constituencies, build relationships. I don't know what the academic status will be this year. I know that you were a C last year. I would like to move the school 1 letter grade up to a B. And I've heard people say often it can't be done. It can be done, and it needs to be done, and we're capable. Improve our CCRI score by 4 points. Improve the graduation rate, attendance, and decrease discipline are all goals that we have in year 1. Success is, your success is my success. We work together. Improve the climate and culture, retention rate, graduation rate, etc. Improve instructional outcomes, and build a school community of empathetic tyrants. Empathetic tyrant is a teacher who stands before the class and delivers instruction and works with students to help them get better. And when bad things happen in that kid's life that cause challenges, we understand, but we don't lower our expectations. We expect more, and we support. As I said, I have the ability to build community, to improve outcomes, and to motivate people. My shoes fit here, and I know the power of why. I think why is extremely important. Why does it matter? You guys know who that guy is standing up there on the right? Who is he? Mike Tyson. You know who that guy is on the ground? Buster Douglas. And Buster Douglas was going to fight Mike Tyson, and Buster Douglas came into the fight, and if you looked at the two of them, you'd have thought there was no way. A week before the fight, Buster Douglas's mom died. And he had to decide whether to fight or to mourn. he decided to fight. This was in the first round. Mike Tyson knocked him out. He got saved by the bell. 7 rounds later, he shocked the world and knocked Mike Tyson out. When they asked him how he did it, his answer was this: my mama told everybody I was going to knock Mike Tyson out. And I didn't want my mama to be a liar. His why was bigger than Mike Tyson. My why, as I tell my students and my staff, my why is you. And that's bigger than Mike Tyson. That's really one time.
So at this time, I want to give you the opportunity to ask Dr. Lineberry any questions that you may have of him. If it's a question that we, knowing personnel things and like that, I may say, you know what, you can't answer that question right now. So, but do you have any questions for him? Kim, go ahead.
I'm just curious, are you willing to move to Casa Grande to be part of the community?
Right now, my wife works in Paradise Valley, and we have talked about it. It would not be immediate, but it would be a goal of ours as a family. Yes, sir.
So you moved Ratchet Junction from a C to a B or a B to a B, however you want to phrase it. What elements or programs did you implement that you would credit with?
Well, I think a couple of things happened. The first thing that happened was we changed the climate and the culture. Culture drives everything. And I think culture, the saying is culture eats strategy for breakfast. So we changed the culture by talking to kids, by building relationships and rapport with kids. We improved instruction in the classroom, and we held kids accountable. Kids they know what we expect. And it's not a conversation of, why did you do that? You shouldn't have done that. They know. And it's building those relationships. I think we changed our curriculum and we adopted new curriculum. I think that certainly helped. I think that making the change in instructional planning made a huge difference, as well as professional learning communities made a huge difference. But again, the sense of team and camaraderie on the campus, not only with kids, but with staff, absolutely made a difference. We have each other's backs, and that's important. Did I answer your question? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
In addition to that 5-step student modification or behavior modification plan, some of our students might feel right now like our rules are somewhat optional. How do you shift that culture?
I think,
just being a million of those forms.
well, I think that the first thing that we do is we stay fair and consistent and firm. And that is extremely important. Being able to tell kids what it is that you expect and then holding them accountable regardless of who they are or what they think about the rule is important. It's important also that they understand we're building something together, and they own part of that. So let's build it together. So we build it together by doing the right things together and lifting one another up, not tearing one another down. And I also think it's really important that as a team, we're unified as well. It makes it hard to say no headphones or cell phones in class, and everybody's doing it, and then 2 or 3 folks decide, I'm not going to enforce that. And it becomes really challenging on the campus. That answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Sir, you put those steps to take while for discipline. What if the situation is extreme right off the bat?
Then it's handled immediately. So it depends on what it is and what your behavior guidelines ask for.
Well, following the rules say, take your headphones off, and the student just says, no, F you.
Right. Well, at that point, it's not a step. It's a conversation with administration with potential suspension or other consequences, depending on what's available.
So there's that, call the security, and
they get removed and they get
administration
brought.
will take that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, they will. You don't deserve to be talked to that way.
Okay.
And neither do they. It goes all the way around,
Right.
which I'm sure you understand. So,
Right.
in the back, yeah, I'll get you.
John Moore, CGE.
Hi.
We have some incredibly outstanding CTE and fine arts programs at the school. Many of them are state level, and beyond. Before I came in here, I watched the announcement of the 4 astronauts for Artemis 2.
I missed that.
Before I came in here, I was rewatching the announcement of the 4 astronauts for Artemis 2.
Uh-huh.
And I was thinking about the motto of NASA JPL, dare mighty things. So I was just wondering if you could speak a little bit on your thoughts on how we might inspire our students to dare mighty things.
Well, I think daring mighty things is about as important as it gets. And if the why is big enough, they will. They have to understand and believe that they can do it. I've been saying we were going to be a bee at Apache Junction since 2019, and they all looked at me like I was nuts. It hadn't happened since 2011. And I kept telling them we can do it. And even after we did it, some of them have trouble believing it. So I think we can inspire them. You know, kids learn when they're excited about what it is that they have the opportunity to learn and grow with. So we give them opportunities to be successful, and then we build on that success by pushing them to go forward and further. Because the only limits that exist are the limits they have in their minds. And I firmly believe that. Every kid has potential. Not every kid's going to go to college, though. And that's okay. But there better be a plan. Because when they graduate, we need to know, are you going into the military? Are you going into vocational school? Are you going into the workplace, directly into the workplace? What is that plan? That's where every one of our students has a plan for success that starts their freshman year and follows them all the way through. Our counselors know immediately where kids are, who's in trouble, who's not in trouble, who's on track, what their after graduation plans are. So I think, again, getting kids to focus on that, because the future is the next 5 minutes in their minds, oftentimes. So we have to get them to think bigger than that. That answer your question?
Somewhat. I was thinking more of the way the economy is changing in Arizona. You have TSMC coming in, the fab. You have the tier 1 and tier 2 peer supporters. I think Casa Grande is receiving or going to have some of those facilities here. We have the electric car plant and the truck plant. Arizona has a very large space-related business that not a lot of people know about. How are we able to, what do you think we're going to be able to do as we say in Skills USA, job ready day one? How are we going to prepare our students to be motivated and ready to move into those types of high-tech jobs when they leave Casa Grande?
So I think that's a big question. But the short answer is we motivate them to do it. We build relationships with those who are doing it, and we give kids opportunity to be exposed to it. Because many of them don't know that's an opportunity for them. Giving them those opportunities, having strong teachers in the classroom to help them grow and move in that direction, who inspire and lead and believe, makes a difference. But I could talk to you for a long time about the answer to that question. Sir, you had a question.
How much time in years are you willing to devote to Casa Grande Union High School to accomplish what you want to accomplish?
Well, I plan on staying at Casa Grande Union High School as long as Casa Grande Union High School will have me. I believe that commitment's important. I believe that being a person of your word is important, and I can't put a number on that, but I can tell you that I am excited about this opportunity and would be very grateful to have it. Okay? Very grateful to have it.
We got time for about 2 more questions and then your closing statement, sir.
I just kind of wanted to follow up from Tim that Tina asked about whether or not you were going to live here.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of one of my
Mm-hmm.
To live here. And we have teachers that are great that have been here for 20+ years that don't live here. And honestly, although they are great teachers, they really truly don't know our kids if they aren't here after 3 o'clock. And so how are you going to, discuss the relationship building, that you feel you fit here, you want to be visible in the community? How do you plan on attending events and being part of our community if you're not going to live here?
I think that, how we interact with kids every day makes a difference. I know that I typically have put 40 hours a week in by Wednesday. I'm at events. I walk the sideline at football games and soccer games and baseball games. I build relationships and rapport with the kids. I talk to kids and build those relationships. I do the same with staff. I do think that there is a advantage that comes from living in the community. I think that I wouldn't be being truthful with you if I told you that that would happen this summer. And I don't want to be disauthentic or not authentic. But what I will say is that it is an absolute possibility. And I also think that being visible and participating is extremely important. I want to be involved. I want to get to know the community. And I think that if you were to ask folks at Stanfield, I didn't live in Stanfield, but they certainly felt that I was part of the community because I absolutely felt like I was part of theirs.
Thank you. Sir, I would like to share with you one of my wonderings, but I want to ask it as an out-of-the-box kind of thinking question. Would you be willing to accept a year-to-year contract based on data, that being yearly performance of our school, whether or not we are improving year to year, not the traditional 3-year principal in, principal out, or 5-year principal in, principal out? Would that be something that you could consider so that you are growing as well as we are growing?
Well, I can tell you that I have not failed at much, and I don't intend to here. If that's the direction that the board and the superintendent wanted to take, I would take that direction. If they offered me a 1-year contract, I would sign it. Yes, sir.
My question would be, what would be your plan or feelings towards classified employees that are that they would be valued as part of the team?
Well, if classified employees don't show up to work, it's hard to do our jobs as educators and as administrators.
So you'll value them highly.
I was raised that, and I firmly believe that if you're a human being, you are worthy of respect.
Thank you.
And you're worthy of kindness, and you're absolutely a part of the team.
Part of the team. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Mine is about special education. Most places it kind of seems that special education is always pushed aside. What kind of experience do you have, and what kind of plan do you have to make sure that they're included just like everyone else?
So I don't know if on that first slide that had the picture of my family, my oldest stepson, is severely developmentally delayed and autistic. So I have a perspective that not everybody has when it comes to special education. In addition to that, I think inclusion is essential. Because you have a disability doesn't mean you're not part of our campus and part of our team. And I think that as a parent of a special education student, I would have been horrified if he wasn't able to attend school functions the way everybody else was. I'm a big believer in the inclusion model. I think inclusion works. I think you have to meet the kids' needs, obviously, but inclusion absolutely works. And as much as we can mainstream kids while still meeting their needs, I think that's really important. Did I answer your question? Okay.
I think Corey had a question, and then we'll go to Roxy and Mike, and then we'll have to cut it off. and give Donna the opportunity, because I think you've already made your closing statement.
Okay.
So Corey?
You stated that safety was your number one priority.
Yes, sir.
That's my number one concern as a parent. How do you ensure parents that their children are safe to come to school? How do you ensure that the staff is safe to be here?
I think a couple of ways. I've said this a number of times. I think relationships are extremely important. That's how we find things out. I think knowing kids is extremely important. I also think being transparent and honest and frequently communicating with parents is extremely important. Having security on campus is extremely important. Being visible is extremely important. And then when things do happen, taking a stand on what will be tolerated and won't be tolerated on this campus.
So to follow up, as a parent, there were two different instances over the last couple of years where I felt it was necessary to get my child out of the school. How do you deal with that with parents that are wanting their children to leave the school because they do not feel safe?
I would want to know what those specific concerns were and what those specific situations were. Certainly not now, but and then I would tell you how I would handle that situation. I unfortunately have had quite a bit of experience with difficult situations, so I feel very confident in my ability, and my partnership with Apache Junction Police, which I assume is the partnership you have here with Casa Grande law enforcement, is strong, and having them involved is strong. Last year at graduation, we had no specific threat, but it was the day after Uvalde. SWAT was there. I had people up on the roof. We had people in the audience. We had people everywhere because we wanted people to know we take that seriously, and safety is absolutely a priority. When kids are here, they're my kids too, and I protect them like they're mine.
Thank you.
Roxy.
Thank you. I admire all the progress you've made in the schools that you've been in. I just have one question that I don't know. The schools that you've made progress in and the grades that you've progressed with have been unified school districts. Do you see any kind of challenges coming into Casa Grande Union, being we're not unified with the elementary school district?
Well, Stanfield was an elementary district. And when I was in Combs, there was no high school. So at that time, Combs was an elementary, they called it a unified district, but there was no high school for kids to go to. I think that I would have to learn more about some of the challenges that might be presented by that, but I think relationships and clear, consistent, transparent communication with the elementary school district would be extremely important. I don't know that it would necessarily present, and a year from now I may say, oh, boy, I missed that one. Any necessarily unique challenges over anything else, because we have kids in Apache Junction, although we're unified, we have kids come in from Mesa all the time who choose our school instead of the schools in their neighborhoods. Mike?
Couldn't find that better. Mike Cruz, governing board member of the Casa Grande Elementary School District. Thank you, Superintendent Lavender, for the invitation, and thank you for being here. That hit a lot of what I was going to ask in terms of how do we streamline working together to build a more streamlined and better pipeline so that we're more successful. But going up on that, my next question would be really is, how do you envision yourself getting involved with key stakeholders within the community, both from like nonprofit and government, to enhance the work you're doing here and to establish relationships and resources, going to his point earlier, bringing in private industry?
I think one of the ways you do that is by reaching out and building those relationships. And you do that by talking to people and going out and meeting with people and inviting people here to meet with you, showing them the great things that are happening on our campus. We just formed a partnership with Ford, where they're hiring our kids in a work-study program at $17, $18 an hour to teach them how to be ASE certified mechanics. I have relationships with Sun Health already because of my work at Stanfield Elementary School, at Sun Life Health, excuse me, already because of my work at Stanfield Elementary School. I feel like working with law enforcement, getting to know our SROs, getting to know the chief. I have a relationship with the chief of police in Apache Junction. I think all of those things are extremely important. I think visibility and being authentic and available are all extremely important, building those partnerships. People have to know who you are and what you're about, and that your door's open and that you want to work with them. A lot of times they don't know that we're willing. So I think reaching out and building those relationships has been something that I've been very successful at doing at Stanfield, at Apache Junction, at Harmon, and at Florence Virtual Academy. Did I answer your question?
Lexi, Donna said she's willing to give up a little bit of her time because she thought it was important that you do hear from Dr. Lineberry. So Lexi.
Hi.
I'm just curious how many students you have on campus?
We have 1,000. We have 1,000.
So we have a lot more.
You do. About twice as many.
So I'm just curious how discipline is a huge issue here.
Okay.
Huge. And how you would handle, you need more security, how you say that you would handle immediate discipline for certain things, and some of those behaviors haven't been handled that way. So with so many more students than what you have now, how would you distribute that? Your vice principals, your
Right.
our counselors are involved in discipline, how would you?
So I can tell you what I'm doing now because I'm not real clear yet on the way that it's divided up here. But I have 2 assistant principals, 2 counselors, and a social worker at Apache Junction High School. One of those assistant principals, and an athletic director. One of those assistant principals, all he does is discipline and student services. So when kids are getting into trouble, he's dealing with them every step of the way, and that's all he needs to do. I'm involved, but for the most part, he's handling that on a day-to-day basis. I know what's going on. I'm aware of different situations. We discuss them. But I think that it's important as a leader that you trust, but verify, and that you delegate. So that's what he does. Then the other assistant principal handles academics and works with our teachers to help our teachers to improve instructional strategy, as well as analyzing data, etc. Again, I'm a part of that. I'm very involved in that. And then we use our social worker. I don't know if you've had this experience this year, but we've had a lot of kids who have been dealing with mental health issues. And having the social worker and the guidance counselors to help with that has been key. So I think I would need a better understanding of the model that's in place now, and then talk about ways that we can make that model work more effectively in the future. I think having security is extremely important. We didn't get cameras till this year.
I think we had a tour, one of our vice principals was in charge of solely discipline and how to handle it. It's for us because of
The size.
behaviors on campus and the size of the campus, it's too much for one person.
Right, right.
So
Well, we would have to divide it up based on the skill set of the administrative team and the need. And it's fluid. There have been days where it was all hands on deck in dealing with discipline. And if that's what needed to happen, that's what needed to happen. Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Lineberry, our feeder campuses aren't just the city of Casa Grande. And I know coming from Stanfield, your kiddos came here. Being visible in this community is easy, but being visible in some of our feeder communities might be a little harder. How might you approach building that same visibility and support within those feeder communities so that those students, before they set foot on here, know that they're going to be welcomed as well?
I think it goes back to those relationships again, and with the kids out in the Stanfield area, for example, I have relationships with the Tohono O'odham Nation, and that spans the entire area. I assume Sackatoon is also part of that. So I think going and meeting people and talking to kids and introducing yourself and helping them to feel comfortable and parents to feel comfortable, to have a face that they know and a personality that they understand is extremely important. So I would make every effort to make myself available to them and build those relationships as well.
So Dr. Lineberry will remain after if you would like to talk to him individually. I just want to clarify a couple points about that. As a school district, we cannot require employees to live here. And I knew that when I was hired in 1996 at the Casa Grande Elementary School District, because had they required it, I wouldn't have come down here. My plan was to come down here, get my 5 years experience and move on and go back into the Phoenix area. The second year I was here, we bought a house down here, we raised a family down here in that. And so we're hoping that all of our employees want to become a part of our community and make part of our family. And so also, you know, I just met Dr. Lineberry on Friday. And so as I was listening to him, I see a lot of the philosophies and things that I think are vitally important as well in administration. Also, all new employees are given a 1-year contract, including me. And so we're not giving out 3-year contracts right now. So just to clarify that. So, all right, Donna.
Dr. Lineberry, you better be very careful about what you wish for or what you say. This is my 30th year in this school. Yeah. So be careful. When you say as long as they'll keep you, be careful.
All right.
Does anyone care if I just stay down here? No? Good. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Donna Tejas. Yes, I am a Cougar, a proud 1976 graduate of this school. For most of you, you know me already, so that part's going to be quick. But the one person you do not know, the back row is my wonderful husband, whom you've never met, John Tejas. We've been married for 30 years, going on 31. And he's still alive. It's amazing. I will tell you one of the proudest moments I had in high school was the little plaque that's hanging outside, right on this side of the door. And it says, Outstanding Contribution to the Creative Arts, the Principal's Award. 1976, I received that award. 1978, my younger brother received the same award. And I am so proud to be a teacher in the very program that educated me and helped instill the passion I have about my craft. I've been a teacher for 44 years. That's older than some of you have been alive. And that's okay. I know my craft. I know it well. I've thought about a lot of ways to approach this evening, and I've got the same list of questions that Dr. Lineberry received, and I was going to go over each and every one of them and tell you all of these wonderful things. And after listening to Dr. Lineberry, I have to tell you, as the candidate for the assistant principal, I have to revise a lot of what I have written. My primary role is to be the voice at the table of experience in this district. And my voice is here to help inform Dr. Lineberry's decision-making processes. I guess I can look at you and say, I hope I'm the last person in the room before you make a decision. Because I will always be honest, forthright, trustworthy, and passionate. Because I care so deeply about the students of this community. They were my children, both of them that graduated from here. My granddaughters are 8, just turned, and 6. And they're coming here next. And what we do today is going to either set them up for success or failure in a period of time that will go by so quickly. In the blink of an eye, it will be here and gone. And for that reason, My job is to get on board. I agree with what I hear from you. Relationships are what this is about. And as speaking, what you may or may not know is I am currently the Teachers Association president. And I have been an active member of the Teachers Association since 1980 when I joined the profession. And I will tell you that you are looking at a room full of people that are wounded and hurting, frustrated and tired. And in many ways, I share all of that with them. And what we have to do at this point, before we can do any of the wonderful, lofty things that we simply must do for kids, we have to take care of ourselves and change what's happening from within. We have to change the culture, the climate, the attitude. I don't know about you, but for an awful long time, I've sat in all those faculty meetings where people have talked at me and never once asked me, what do you think? What do you see as a problem? And I will tell you, though, while I've been in a classroom for 44 years, the day I walk out of that classroom to walk into an office, I will no longer know exactly what it means to be a teacher today. I recognize that fact. I will have known what it's been like for 44 years, and I can tell you a tremendous change in history. And I know I'm going way off script from the questions you asked.
You're doing fine.
But it's also who I am. So it's imperative that we, as an administrative team, ask you questions. Instead of coming to faculty meetings where we are droned on, how about starting with, hey, let's just talk. What do we do right this week? What's working well? Is our discipline plan working well? Are kids getting to class on time? Granted, I'll already know that because I'm going to be out in those halls every period of every day. Because that's where you need me. And if you need help, we are all going to be a moment away. We need open doors with our administration. All of us have experienced for the last several years, walk down the administrative hall and there is not one door open at any time. You have to make an appointment, and the last appointment I made, it took me 2.5 weeks to see an administrator. Dr. Johnson is the exception. Sorry about that, but I had to point that one out. I can't let that one go like that. We've got to have open doors again. If you have a problem now, you need help now. Not in 2 weeks, not in 20 minutes, but now. And what I see as a vision for this school is happy people. I want to hear laughter in our halls again. I had the opportunity to talk to a group of, an eclectic group of kids. Drama kids are always eclectic, trust me. They come from all walks of life, the AP, the tech nerds, the drama geeks. Yay, I love those type. The scientists, the kids who just don't care, they just got stuck there because there wasn't an elective to go to. And I asked them if they could remake this school into anything they wanted. Of course, we couldn't change the outside because it is what it is. How would they want it to look? You guys, I asked that question 3 weeks ago. And to a student, they made me cry. Because they said, Ms. Tejas, we just want teachers who are happy to be here. Because there's not a single one that, well, there are a couple that smile and laugh and seem to enjoy themselves, but the vast majority are so overstressed and so unhappy, and it wears off on us. That made me physically cry. It also reminded me to step up my game, play more music, do a little bit more dancing, and try to make our fine arts wing the best wing on campus. Sorry, math. It's a thing. So what I want to see, my vision for this school, is an environment that is so rich with enthusiasm that we can't wait to get to work. And when's the last time you can say that? That is so filled with resources, whether they're human, one to each other, or physical, actual resources, like copiers that work in enough places that you don't have to stand in line 5 hours to make 5 copies, and I'm not exaggerating. That we have the necessary tools and people present, that we can create an environment that literally, wait for it, inspires excellence for real. That is a cheap phrase lately, but I want it to become a reality. And I said when I was asked, what does inspiring excellence mean to you? My response to Mr. Lavender was, well, when I helped write that sentence, that tells you how old I am, and that's okay. I feel passionately about the people that work here. I will tell you, I am thrilled that Dr. Lineberry is looking at coming here. I hear his approaches. I'm all about collaboration, if you haven't guessed that. I'm all about involving people. The answers are right here in the room. We don't have to go look for experts. You are the experts. You know the troubles, the joys, the challenges, and the pleasures and the thrills of everyday teaching right here. And all we have to do is harness it, provide it a voice, a system to work together, and we can make a difference in every life starting tomorrow. When you come to school tomorrow. And it will be my job to do whatever my boss tells me to do and to make that happen. As much as he will allow me to run with ideas, we'll run with them. I've got a lot of them. Like we need a faculty lounge, a place where we can get out of our classrooms and see each other, have lunch together, talk to each other, because how many of us can name more than 10 names of teachers who work here? Oh, hush. The other thing is, I would hope, and it's nothing I've talked to you about, but we're talking about dreams and visions here. Dreams and visions. I would hope that we kind of tweak the way we think about our meetings. We no longer need teacher meetings. We need all staff meetings. Every custodian, maintenance worker, IEC, classified employee, secretary, every adult that works here is part of one team. And we better start acting like it. And they all need to be in the room. So I think it makes a big difference to have the principal stand and say, you guys, come on, clean up your rooms before you go, because custodians having a hard time getting around, versus having a custodian stand up before us and say, you guys, I have 7 minutes in your classroom, and I can either pick up the garbage the kids left, or I could sweep your floor. Which one do you want? You tell me. We learn things when we talk to each other and share ideas. And believe me, this group will be open and honest. They won't hold back. I do know that there is a tremendous amount of fear that runs here. If I say something, if they know I said it, will there be retaliation? That's something that we will have to work to overcome. And I can assure you, I've been tremendously retaliatory, haven't I, in all the years you've known me? That's not about to happen. And I believe that together we can get a whole lot accomplished if we change the way we deal with each other. Let's put some fun back into this school for us and for our kids. Let's cut through the systems that are making it difficult to schedule when they have a pep assembly, for crying out loud, or any assembly at all, or a lunch activity. I told my husband the other night, I think it'd be fun if we had, when it gets hot, if we bring out the ice block and have ice sitting contests during lunch. We can do some fun things with kids. And yes, we do need to have strong discipline. And it's going to be a tough thing to pull in because it's been left go for so long. And reining in is always difficult. We all know that. But we must all gather together and create one plan, make one commitment. And when you see a neighbor not fulfilling the obligation, gently, kindly, with compassion and care, just walk over and say, hey, guys, could you please not let your kids out of class early? We really need everybody on the same boat. Could you please make sure your kids are in class by the time the bell rings? And if we're having sweeps, don't let them sneak in. We've got to be a united front. Make sense? I see a school that works. And if we work, we can get the kids to work because they feed off of our energy. Period. It's as simple as that. The leadership of this school starts with the adults, all of us. And if a custodian says, excuse me, sir, would you please put your ID on? Then that student better put it on. And if they give the custodian a rough time, the custodian should be empowered to say, come with me, we're going to the office. We are all responsible. I would like to address a couple other issues. Student safety. Student safety for me is paramount. This one's a tough one for me because I've got children that are small. And before we had our drill, I sent a letter home to all my parents. And I told them that we will be having a practice drill on Friday, or no, sometime that week, and that they need to know and understand our procedures. And I was explicit about fire drills and evacuations, about shelter in place and what its purpose is, and what a lockdown is. And I said, in a life or death situation, we have three choices: hide, run, or fight. And I outlined for my parents the exact expectations of the students that go back to that black box and are with me every day. If we hide, this is what we do. If we run, we go out the back door. We keep running out the back gate. We go down 3.5 blocks to my home, where I will have already called my husband to say, have the espresso machine going, make sure there's cold water. And he happens to have been a crisis counselor all these years. How could the kids be in better hands? And I will keep your children safe in my home because they are my children. I am acting in loco parentis every moment I'm here. And if we have to fight, we will fight together. And I told them how to go about doing it. And I meant what I said. Student safety is critical. And one of the things we as an administration must do is we must go around the perimeter of the school frequently and check it out. Did you guys know that back here, there was a big hole cut in the chain link fence behind the auto shop? Kids were walking out the gate. They made it themselves. And it was that way for a period of time because nobody knew it was there. We have to be alert. While you may not live in the valley, or here, you live in the valley, I live 1 minute and 27 seconds that way. So I'll be around. I sit in my front yard and I listen to the band practice at night. It's a joy. Do I have to take all of the time?
No. Does anybody have any questions for Donna?
Yes, sir.
You made a point to tell us that you're part of the union and how long you've been part of the union. How are you going to support people that are not part of the union?
All of you. Okay.
Unions always have an agenda. They always, and it doesn't necessarily align with people that are not in the union. So how are being a product of the union, how are you going to support people that are not in the union?
That's a great question, Travis. And I will tell you that I believe that my history in working here has shown that it didn't matter if you're union or not union. I have always fought 100% for every person. I have represented almost as many non-union people in meetings with administrators as union. It doesn't matter to me. I'm part of a union because through AEA, we have a little bit of voice at the state, and we do have a seat at the table in some fashion or other. But that, number one, that wouldn't be my role. As an assistant principal, I'm here to support every single person, not just adults, but children. My role becomes much larger at that point. And part of that, the union work, one of the things that the union taught me is solidarity and fearlessness. And I carry that forward. And let's face it, guys, oh yes.
I just want to say, I didn't join the union until this year, and you have supported me prior to that, so it's very good.
You're my colleagues, guys. You are my colleagues. Yes.
You talk about how you be ready for a safety issue. How do you support the staff in avoiding any issues coming on this campus? And you have the experience of the last couple of issues, major issues that I've heard.
Yes. Excellent question. Thank you for asking. Visibility is critical. Absolutely, visibility. I think every teacher, and I would encourage every teacher to look at their environment and make their own plans. The other thing I think we absolutely have to do, which we have failed to do, is drill students, drill teachers, because the drill is more than just for kids. We need to consistently, and by that I mean every month, just like we do fire drills, a shelter in place and a lockdown. We've got to start building some muscle memory, if you would. When we hear this, we do this. When we hear this, we do this. Right now, we hear a bell. Fire bells, you know what's going to happen. Kids are going to get up and leave. We do shelter in place. Kids aren't really sure what to do. Teachers aren't really sure what to do. Is somebody going to check the door? Is somebody not going to check the door? We need to build those systems in so that in a real life, honest to goodness, life or death situation, there could be some built-in muscle memory, perhaps, I pray, a reduction in some of the confusion and the terror, because, oh, I know what to do here. And they follow directions and do it. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Donna, do you mind if I just jump in on that
Absolutely.
real quick?
Please do.
Corey, school safety is one of my biggest priorities. We are going to have a school safety study session before our May governing board meeting. During that time, I'm going to be finding some experts to come in and talk with our governing board so we have clear expectations of what we will do in the event of situations that are unsafe on our campus. I have walked through the scenario that happened a few months ago with the gun on campus. And I will tell you there are opinions all over the place on how that will be handled. Our police chief has defended the decisions that Mr. Mabb made. There are some things I have shared with Mr. Mabb that I would have done differently. And if a situation, God forbid, like that were to happen again, I would tell him to do things a little bit differently. But we need to have clear expectations. Not only do we practice drills for our students, but our administrators need a clear picture of what we're going to do. Tempe High School District, Freya District right now are purchasing some handheld metal detectors that they are using in times. We've had a couple times this year where we've had threats on social media. And that's what Tempe's using it, if they have threats like that, to ease people's comfort. So that's one of the things that I will be looking into and having information for that study session that we are doing. So please understand that school safety is obviously something that I know is a priority for you because these are your children, but they're my children too. They're Chuck's children as well. And we want to make sure that we're providing optimum safety conditions. So please know that as the governing board, myself, this is on the top of our agenda. Once we have, my biggest priority was getting principal and admin team in place, and then it's safety, And then the next thing is maintaining current levels of funding with some upcoming elections and things that we have. Does that help, sir?
It does, and the gun was an issue, obviously,
Right.
but that's going to be hard to keep out of the school. So it was the response that I was concerned about, and you touched on that, and I appreciate that. The other one that bothered me just as much, and Jessica and I are both Cougars, and we live less than a mile away from here.
Yes.
And we considered more than one time on driving by this school on the way to another school, to take our children to another school.
Right.
And the incidents that happened where children were being drug into bathrooms and beat up while other children filmed it. And the disrespect that was the staff was treated with, building up to that, that's a deeper concern for me because a gun being snuck on campus, it's a reaction.
Yes, sir.
The everyday disrespect that the teachers and the staff were treated with and students were being in harm's way consistently. That was touched on by Dr. Lineberry, that was touched on by Mrs. Tejas, and I appreciate you guys taking that.
And I will tell you, Dr. Lineberry got a true scenario, or understand how I see union and things that are going on when we met on Friday as well. The things that have to be addressed, and those things absolutely have to be addressed. One of the things that I asked Donna about when I met with her on Friday, have you seen some things different since we've come back from spring break based on some things? And then she shared with me that was in fact. I asked her, I met with her in her position as association leader, and I know this is not supposed to be about me, but I want you to know, sir, that I am aware, and we are working these things. I met with Donna, the team leader here from Union, the team leader here from Vista.
Gretchen and Tracy.
Gretchen, and in an email I sent to the staff, I mentioned things that was shared with me. The 11 initiatives that were pushed on these teachers last year, all 11 are worthy initiatives, but it was too much. And Dr. Lineberry talked about going slow and doing things right. I asked Donna, could you tell in the email that I listened to what you said? And she said, no. She said, you heard us. And I am hearing you as well, sir, and we will continue to do that.
Because as I took away from these 2 minutes.
Absolutely. But I know that's an issue, and I want you to, and that's why I felt like I wanted to step in as well. Because as I told Mr. Mabb, there are no easy decisions, and decisions during a time like this, and you look at every school shooting, the superintendent and the principal lose their jobs. And because there's just so much, and there's so much responsibility.
Okay.
The assistant principals are safe, yes. But thank you, Corey. Any other questions for Donna?
Yes, dear Mr. Morris.
On the topic of maintaining diligence and safety for our students, it should be number one. What are your thoughts on how we can accomplish that without creating an environment of oppression?
Oh, I think we need to. Nope. I think we really need to utilize our students. Our students are not children, they're young adults. Some of these people, in a matter of a few days, will be leaving to defend our country and our freedom and laying their lives down for us. And we've got to recognize we're not dealing with babies. So let's use their skills, for crying out loud. We've got to start talking with them, not at them, but with them, and encourage them. See something, hear something, say something. Drill it into their heads. And then when they do, thank them. Thank them. Right now, they're just as afraid as anybody else. Are you going to tell somebody I said this? We've got to create that atmosphere through building those relationships. And you all have them with different kids. I've got them with different kids. That they can say, hey, I was sitting in a class one time when one of my students walked up to me and very stealthily said, Ms. Tejas, the kid next to me's got a gun in his, or got a knife in his backpack. May I go to the restroom, please? And I said, absolutely. And I was writing a pass, let him go. And meanwhile, I got on the email and emailed Zona at the time and said, Zona, I need security immediately. One of my students purportedly has a knife. And I kept right on teaching. The kid was sitting right there. I kept my eye on him. But I kept right on teaching. And I said, oh, darn. And I walked over to his phone and I called and said, hey, Zona, did you see my email from earlier today? no, could you check it right away for me, please? Because I really need some of that information. She goes, oh, this is weird. So she goes, they'll be right there. A moment later, security's at the door. Is there so-and-so here? Yeah? Could we see him, please? Sure. Well, could you take your backpack? I don't know what they want or when they'll be back. So off you went. The kid came back from the bathroom. The kid was gone, never knew. There are ways to handle all those things in a very appropriate manner. Period. Yes, sir.
A lot of what you guys talk about requires money, have an override coming up. How will you leverage your APA experience to support the principal and superintendent here to empower teachers to get involved during non-contracted hours? Support this. Something we've experienced in the elementary district where there's no involvement and we're trying to change it. How will you leverage your experience to support the high school district and ensure that you have a successful override?
That too's a fairly easy question, believe it or not. At the last override, we weren't asked until one meeting toward the end. And I know that we met in the principal's conference room, but by then all the letters of support had already been written for all the pamphlets. We were never asked to write one. And the other thing is, we've got to, our biggest problem, is that running? Our biggest problem are some of our feeder districts. We have to really work to get Arizona City to support us. One of the ways that we can do that is let's hold our own town halls out there. Hold town halls in Sackatone. And I'm talking about right now, to find out what our parents are wanting, what our parents are needing. I have this because I've got a school improvement committee I'm working on, and we just went through a whole bunch of data about where parents see us and how we're performing. And we better start addressing those if we want to pass an override. It can't be a school improvement plan and a Donna Tejas plan and a Jeff Lavender plan and a school board plan. We better have one plan. We better have one approach. We better work together. And if people believe in what we're doing, and that includes the teachers, and to be honest with you, there were an awful lot of teachers who didn't believe in the direction we were going before that override. And when you aren't listened to in any other way, you have one last option. We do vote. I'm being real blunt. Did I answer your question, sir?
I think that was a question for everyone.
Donna, I have a question. I think that falls under climate and culture. Administration is near and dear to my heart, okay? There is a difference between a school leader, principal, and a boss. Which one are you, and can you share with us a little bit about why you are either or?
I am a leader. I believe a boss tells you what you're going to do without your input, without concern for what your situation is. You get an idea in your head about this is the way it's got to be. This is my plan. It's very power-oriented. And if you know me, that's not where I come from, ever. I look for collaborative ideas, working together to come up with a plan that we can all agree with. Now, does that mean I can't make tough decisions and tough calls? When I was the CTE department chair, I had to fire a friend. That's hard, but you can do it because it's the right thing to do. And ethics, honesty, morality, and a deep sense of right and wrong, wrapped up in a complete person who believes totally and trusts in the guidance, providence, and grace of God is who I am. And you can be a leader and not be a boss. I'm not a boss. I don't want to be your boss.
Rachel?
Is it temporary or you're expected to know? Being a first year, it kind of seems like everyone's very separate and doesn't know who's who. What would you do to change that and how?
To begin with, when we come to faculty meetings or staff meetings, whichever you prefer to use, I think every person in the room should have a tent. And you do not sit in departments. We all know each other in our departments. And I'm not big into the fluffy, feel-good games. I think the better way to learn each other is have task forces. You are a workforce that has to accomplish a goal, something serious we need here. And you work together in homogeneous groupings so that it's not all departments, all across. And you've got to spend some time with each other. We don't spend any time with each other. We don't have any get-togethers. We don't have lunches together. We have workrooms by department or offices where you eat alone. And worse yet, we have an awful lot of people who just eat in their classroom because it's hard when there's no place to go. And we need to make a place, encourage people to use it, put some incentives, have a few potlucks a month. Come on, bring it on down. Put some snacks in there, a few good magazines and books, and just a place to get away and have some fun. And I think we need to do the same thing for kids. We are a school of children and young adults, but you walk outside that door and tell me it looks like it. It's a beautiful building, devoid of life. Why not have kids paint a mural? Why not make cougar names when they register with their names on them and post them all the way around campus, and they stay there until they graduate? When they bring their parents, I've been at schools that had something like that, and they bring their kids and they say, look, that's my star. And they have some ownership from the day they register here until the day they leave. Sorry.
So I want to be respectful of your time. I said 6:30 tonight, it's 6:30. Obviously, both candidates will be around. I gave you sheets to give me feedback. And I would like, if you have feedback to give me, if you could give it to Jennifer, give it to Brad, and I will be looking at that feedback. When I have made the decision of who I'm recommending to our governing board, I will email the entire staff and let you know, and I will also schedule a staff meeting for the incoming team to come in and address the staff. Obviously, because I've done this in a little bit different format, we're not in a small committee. Why didn't I do a small committee? Because I don't know the staff well enough to know, and I wanted to give everybody the opportunity to be heard on this, because I think it's important. Because a lot of you expressed where you see the school and the direction. I wanted to give everybody that opportunity and not try to pick who would be good spokespeople when we don't know that yet. So that's one of the reasons for this format. And I also wanted to see both candidates perform with just, this is what I'd like you to do, and sit back and see what they were going to do with it, and not grill them as we go around the table and ask questions if we've ever been involved in one of those things.
Yeah.
I know if I schedule a staff meeting, it's going to be next week, probably Wednesday. That's too long. Rumors are going to be leaking and things like that. So once the decision is made, I will communicate through email with all of you there so you know the decision has been made and the recommendation will be going to our governing board. Our next scheduled governing board meeting, I believe, is May 2nd. But if we need to have a governing board meeting in between for any reasons, like putting the override on the ballot and things like that, we might schedule a special meeting at that time. I thank you for coming tonight and being a part of this and giving me your input on what is a very difficult decision to make in who to lead this school moving forward. So drive safe tonight. I will also be available. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Lavender, will we have an opportunity before the May meeting to meet the other candidates? Maybe your top three, the rest of them, or is this it?
These are the candidates that I'm comfortable, these are the candidates that I'm comfortable right now considering. I wouldn't have you meet candidates that I could not support in moving forward. Does that make sense?
Yes, it
Because
does. Do
because-
we have other positions, vacancies, like in our administrative? If Donna is possibly as one assistant principal, what about the other? You know, when does that come into play?
Okay, so the position that would be remaining is the athletic director position, and I did not want to hire the athletic director to get the principal involved. One of the things that I wanted to do, and why I did it a little bit different here after meeting with both of them, seeing the different strengths they brought to this table, was I think Donna's institutional knowledge, her love of being a Cougar, her knowledge of being in the association, and knowing what's going on is going to be a valuable asset to some. I mean, you got a superintendent that is new to the school. I mean, obviously I know the community, but I'm new to the school, and so who does he rely on for, he or she rely on for information? And I saw Donna as somebody that could be a good complement. But that's your opportunity on that sheet to give your input as well. Any other questions? All right, well, we're up here. If anybody has any questions, individual comments.